this particular January 8th statement. Those visuals there coming from the VIP tent. A number of NEC members already taken their seats, religious leaders as well as leaders here from various sectors in the Western Cape province. Those are aerial views of the president making his way on these grounds, the Mandela Park Stadium in Khayelitsha. Of course, being intercepted there by some journalists wanting to speak to him. He is flanked, of course, by the ANC leadership, and there's the ANC Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, also there. They've been essentially in the Western Cape for some time. Started off with the ANC NEC meeting before a number of ANC leadership taking to the streets of a number of communities here in the Western Cape. The first Secretary General also amongst those who are on the walkabout with the president. Of course, we'll continue then to give you these visuals, these live visuals, as much as possible before he takes to the podium. The program is officially supposed to be kicked off by the national chairperson, Gwede Mantashe. That will be then followed by the national anthem, and of course we'll hear from some religious leaders before the president, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, delivers that all-important January 8 statement. Of course, this is a tradition for the ANC every year. That statement is meant to then set the tone for the party going forward. In the main, Mxolisi, I must say that the ANC leadership has been greeted with warmth by the Khayelitsha community. Of course, they've also been to other communities, including Gugulethu, Bella, here in the Western Cape. We know, of course, that the ANC significantly lost in the 2024, lost their numbers there in the Western Cape, dropped from that 28% in 2019 elections to around about 19% in the 2024 elections. Of course, one of the things that have been said by various political leaders that we have spoken to here today is that they will really try and gain ground come the local government election 2026. But a lot of analysts, of course, that we've spoken to saying that it will take a lot for the ANC to regain its ground here in the Western Cape. There you have, of course, visuals coming from various vantage points. Most of the delegates had been in that VIP tent since around about 9 o'clock this morning. Of course, let's see if we can just get some of that natural sound as he is greeted by some of those ANC NEC members.
African National Congress. Eta Comrade Gwen Ramakhuba, eta Skokele Ramaphosa. Skokele Ramaphosa.
Absolutely, Mxolisi, of course, as we indicated earlier on, you know, the Western Cape is a highly contested province, notwithstanding, of course, that the ANC in its 2024 elections also did not do particularly well in the Northern Cape province, as well as, of course, other provinces, including Gauteng. So it is going to take some time for the ANC, of course, to regain that confidence back into the people. As you know, several PEC meetings also being held by the leadership of the ANC, KwaZulu-Natal being also one of them. I see there the ANC's NEC Thandi Mahamasala is speaking there to, of course, the ANC supporters who have come in their numbers, I must say, today some of them standing in front of the podium. In fact, a lot of the crowd that has been asked to, go back and take the seats, because there are 3 marquees that have been erected in the stadium. A very large ones, I might add, because the ANC has told us that they are expecting around 22,000 people to descend today to hear from the president. Let's see if we can listen in to what the ANC's national chairperson, Gwera Mantashe, who's on the stage, on the podium, is saying.
Okay, let's keep quiet so that we can hear. Let's keep quiet so that we can hear. Comrades, we're here today to celebrate 113 years of the ANC. We are born again. Babe senza door to door. Sifunde ilesson ebalulekileyo ukuthi i-ANC ayo instant coffee. Awukho manzi ugala umgubo uphunge. Uba ufuna ukuphunga thina uyasibilisa. Usihluze. Kube kwimurkofu. Abantwana benza igxoxa ngemurkofu. Sithi kabo 113 years, we're all welcome here. What we're going to do now is to call on the choir to be ready. They are ready. Is the choir ready? Ningabonilo kwezimhlophe nithi kuyachatwa. I-celebration ye-ANC 113 years akuchatwa. It's not a wedding. 113 years anniversary of the ANC. Sawuqala ngolu hlobo ke. Siredi mos. Sizawuqula umhobe wesizwe. Sicule i-AU anthem. Choir, over to you.
Studio Cape Town. This is just how it's out. Studio Cape Town. Studio Kyoto.
Oh, sons and
Amandla kawume ngokucula kusazawuthandazwa ndiyayazi asihambe icawe sonke kusazawuthandazwa masicele abefundisi basondele chaplain masicele abefundisi basondele we'll have a prayer now.
Comrade, dumelang, sanibonani. Ke nako ya ho rapela jwale sokuthandaza. Comrade, Chairperson of the African National Congress, Gwede Mantashe, President of the African National Congress, Comrade Matamela Ramaphosa, Deputy President, Comrade Paul Mashatile, Secretary General, Unopala, Comrade Fikile Mbalula, First Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Nomvula Mokonyane, Second Deputy SG, Comrade Marupeni Ramokopa, our Treasurer General, Dr. Gwen Ramokopa, Chairperson of the Western Cape Provincial ANC, Comrade JJ Chalisusu, and our host and your leadership collective, members of the NEC who have graced this occasion in front of us, leadership of the leagues, Youth League, Women's League, Veterans League, and leaders of the Alliance, COSATU, SANCO, SACP, abefundisi bethu lapha emuva, baruti, and leaders of the religious community, dikhosi tsa rona, amakhosi wethu, and traditional leaders, lidikhosana, our queens, the beautiful people of Khayelitsha, the home of legends, the birthplace of the legendary Brenda Fassie, dignitaries, excellencies, distinguished guests, comrades Makabani, greetings on this glorious morning, Saturday morning, gathering at the southern tip of the African continent, at the foot of Table Mountain. Dumelang. Mr. President, we are going to pray. And as we commemorate this day in honor of the ancestors of our glorious movement, we are saying, Mr. President, we dare not forget the gift that they've gifted to us, which is the African National Congress. And we are here today to honor them. To honor Ulangalibalele Dube, Pixley Kaseme, Sol Plaki, and all of their generation. We are saying this is something that we have to do, we have no option about. How can we forget the oldest political party on the continent? How can we not celebrate it and honor it? And today it is turning 113th year. Mr. President, we are going to open this ceremony in the same way that the organization was founded 113 years ago, that is through prayers. And in the tradition of the African National Congress, we are going to offer our prayers on an interfaith basis. And so I want to invite all of you as we stand up to join the prayers which will be led The first will be the chaplain of the Western Cape Province, Reverend Dorothea Hopi. Then we'll have Sheikh Riyad Fatar, the president of the Muslim Judicial Council. And then we will be followed by Elder Zandisile Redpet Sikucha of the Rastafarian community. Okay. Mr. President, we were supposed to be joined by Dr. Nokuzola Mdende of the Ikamaku Heritage. Unfortunately, she's caught up in traffic, and so we will continue offer these interfaith prayers. I invite Reverend Hopi to lead the prayers.
Good morning, everybody. I will be praying in Afrikaans. Almachtige Vader, ek staan voor U hierdie môre. Ek bid dat ons vandag kom voor U troon. Hemelse Vader, ons kom met dankseggings na U toe, omdat ons vandag dankbaar is dat onze provinsies, onze regions, onze branches hier aangekomen het, sonder dat daar enige ongelukke was teen die pad. Ons dank U, Here, dat almal hier veilig aangekom het. Hemelse Vader, ons bid dat hierdie dag geseën mag word. Vandag, Hemelse Vader, ons vier die verjaarsdag van die African National Congress. Ons dank U, Here, dat U vir ons saamgebring het hierso. Hemelse Vader, soos ons president sal praat met die nasie vandag, vra ons dat U vir ons geestelike ore moet gee, dat ons moet luister wat die president vir ons sal sê. Van vandag sal
All right,
ons teruggaan na
we just
ons
stepped out of that interfaith prayer currently being delivered by various religious leaders, of course, as the program for the ANC's 113th anniversary celebration continues. We, of course, monitor, and as the president, ANC Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to deliver his January 8th statement. He is in the stadium. He's arrived. He is seated right behind, as you can see there, the podium. Of course, we continue to give analysis in terms of what he is anticipated then to deliver on this all-important January 8th statement. Mzondi Lembeje, politics editor, joining me now just to assess this moment. Mzwai, I mean, we've seen a packed, I might say, stadium today. We've got about 3 marquees. ANC expected around about 22,000 people. I'm seeing people still trickling into the stadium, of course, so excited to be here. Earlier on you mentioned that it might be just the mood of the people in Khayelitsha, but in the main, as I was telling Umqolisi, people have really welcomed the ANC during these few days that they have been doing their walkabouts. What does that symbolize, and what does that say, particularly as the ANC is in the Western Cape, a province that they don't really enjoy large numbers, particularly when you see they decline, from the 2024 elections, and when we juxtapose that to the 2019 elections.
Well, Unati, and I think even as we were speaking of looking at the kind of mobilization that the ANC has been leading in this province, I mean, we saw the kind of reception they got, particularly the ANC president. I mean, it's in Delft, so where he was really welcomed with warm hands. I guess that somehow set the tone. Obviously, there was an instance, an isolated instance around the deputy president, but I know that instance has since been resolved. So where there may have been issues, and I think people thought maybe it was a sign that ANC was not welcomed, but it then transpires that perhaps it was one of those isolated incidents, because the majority of what we have seen is that it has been accepted, and people have also done that by coming to the stadium. I mean, they had prepared, I think, about 22,000 seats, but it looks like they are way below, way over that. So that really tells you that I think the ANC mobilized thoroughly here. So what does this mean in the bigger scheme of things? Is it the renewal and the revival they've been speaking about? So we wait and see, because the ANC president in the next few, maybe just less than an hour, he will then give those marching orders. Those marching orders will then give us an indication of what exactly the ANC intends to do.
I mean, a lot of the ANC leaders that we spoke to really spoke about their successes as the ANC since they took power in 1994. However, they have acknowledged, and they're saying that they are using this moment to reflect, of course, on some of the challenges, because as we speak, of course, and we look at the history of the ANC, which was established on January 8, 1912, it was banned then in the 60s. Its unbanning in 1990 did symbolize a new dawn and a new era of equality and justice. And of course, those promises of a better life for all are all but many people, hung on in terms of what could this party deliver. But over the years, and despite their successes, the party has had to deal with endemic corruption, internal factions, and declining electoral support. As we're looking at those leaders sitting there on that podium, what does it say about the leadership, the current leadership of the ANC, in terms of what is then expected of them, particularly in this important year of 2025, when they have to then be looking at things like the local government elections? They have to be looking at things like their own internal factions that still permeate the party. And of course, what they've always been talking about is this renewal, which we have yet to see them put emphasis on.
One of the things we've said and observed around how the ANC has conducted itself, I mean, let's be honest, there has been huge achievements since it took over as the governing party. But at the same time, there's been a neglect of some of the key areas in the country. And I think what has really been happening is that I think in the modern day language, so they've been struggling to multitask, so to put it. But I think that's one of the aspects they need to look at. I'm sure, Unat, you may want to perhaps just check what is happening there, so that I think our viewers can actually see for themselves.
Yeah, let's listen in.
Masthandaze, Mr. President, before sithandaze, ndicela lenyikike lenkwandla yabantu ngale ntsasale mina namhlanje sike simbize uJahovia, ke simbize uJahovia abe nathi mamela ke kasimbiza ngizawuthi mina kuwe ja wena uthi Rastafari ja Masthandaze ndicela inzolo kaSithandaza, sithetha nosomandla ANC. Nkosi Nkulunkulu Jehovia, kumkani Nkosi yenkosi, nakungale ntsasale mina namhlanje usidibanisile lapha kwelibala ngegama le-ANC. Sicela ke kuwe Jehovia, uzube nathi ngale mina namhlanje apha kulomsitho. Siyayazi imisebenzi yakho emikhulu osenzela yona. Sicela sosandla sakho sasekunene
kunye naso sandla sakho sasekhohlo siphakamisa imilebe yethu kunye nalwimi zethu kasiza kule nkundla sizawuthetha sithetha kulungileyo nokuthethe sibhakalisa imisebenzi eyensi yesenzele yona nanjengoba sibhakalisa imisebenzi yakhe emihlo senzela yona hlala usenza njalo apha kuthi singabakhonza zana bakho hlala usesikhaphela endleleni zakho zobulungisa wenze njalo kumprofeti uEliya wenze njalo kumprofeti uIsaya wabhala ababunzini nabo kaphuma igatsha phesiphunzini sikayese kuko okuhlela ihlumelo ezincanjini zethu ngegama lenkosi ethi sibonga uKing Haile Selassie I. He is the King of Kings. He is the Lord of Lords. He is the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. He is the island of himself and the light of this world. The power of the Holy Trinity. He made us today to Satamasakana in this field. Oh my good gosh, my Lord. Put your hands and bless everyone here. And give strength to our leaders. And give strength to our Lizard. May the Most High God bless us now and forever. Jah! 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 Sila.
We conclude these prayers and say, God bless our continent, Africa. Guard and protect her children. Guide her leaders to lead with wisdom and give her peace. Makubenjalo. Amen. Makubenjalo. Say Makubenjalo. Amen.
So we can stand by to take over from
All right, you are, of course, watching the ANC's January 8 statement celebrations, of course, as the ANC marks 113 years. It is the oldest political party on the African continent. Of course, what we've just seen now is the interfaith prayer by various religious groups just taking place. And of course, I am still in conversation with our politics editor, Mzwandile Mbeje. Joyce, just speaking about, of course, the historical context of the interfaith groups for the ANC. It was a significant time, even in the forming of the ANC, leading up to them taking over the government of South Africa post-democracy, of course, in 1994. The interfaith groups really were symbolic of the time then. And I'm drawing this reference of the past because what we've seen in the days coming to this particular event is the ANC really reflecting back all the way to their forefathers. We've seen them going to Robben Island as an example and just visiting some of the homes of those stalwarts. But perhaps speak to us about just how important and symbolic the religious aspect of the ANC is in terms of their existence.
Well, when the ANC was founded, in fact, it was actually founded in a church in Bloemfontein, and the interfaith has always been part and parcel of its DNA, and the ANC has carried that through. That's why even 113 years later, they still want to maintain that. and they are still doing it. And I guess it basically talks to who the ANC is, and you even see the people it has invited. It's not only confined to the interfaith or religious leaders. There are also traditional leaders that are there, so which tells you that it still wants to reconnect with the roots when it was founded. So all these really speak of the ANC. The question is, as the ANC goes back in time, so is it able to then look to the future without living the past? Because the past will help you inform the future, and at the same time you must be able to also adapt to the changing circumstances. So is the ANC able to do that? I mean, I'm sure as the young person, I think that's the youth league that is going to speaking now, should be able to indicate so where the ANC is in terms of its future, because remember the youth league has always been the preparatory school for the ANC, and I think that after the entertainment they'll probably get the alliance partners and sometimes their structures, so they are able to then articulate what their constituencies want. Is it the women's league, is it the youth league, obviously, but I think the alliance partners will be more interesting given what is currently happening in the realignment of politics.
And you touched on two things, Muzwa, that I want to talk about, and that is firstly, who's in the audience today. Interestingly, of course, the ANC has invited a number of international guests, and I want to mention and speak about those international guests. We've seen, of course, in 2024, a year of elections, essentially, across the world, significant elections bringing significant changes. We have, part of the list, representatives, for instance, from Botswana. We saw how those elections in Botswana went. We've also got some delegates coming from Free Limo Party in Mozambique. We know what's happening, of course, in Mozambique following that election in October the 9th. We've got representatives also from the SWAPO party from Namibia. So these are interesting, of course, relations too that the ANC has with those former liberation parties that we've seen in these African countries. And some of those that I've also mentioned are in the SADC region. Just speak to us a little bit about also those, political parties that we've just mentioned from those various countries as the political scene starts to take shape, not only in South Africa, as we've seen with the 2024 elections, but also, right here on the continent.
Oh yes, and those parties that you've mentioned, and they have gone through elections themselves. And the interesting aspect about them, these are fractional organizations with the ANC. I mean, we know there's a court challenge, for example, in Namibia. I think that is coming up in the coming days to challenge the elections. So we know the issues in Mozambique. So yes, they are pretty much in terms of their court processes sorted, but the people on the ground are still having issues. That's why a country like South Africa is also being looked upon in terms of playing a significant role. And also, you spoke about Botswana. Even last night at the gala dinner, I was with the representatives of the party that got out of power, and they were saying, and look at us in the ANC. Yes, the ANC somehow, because of the fact of our electoral system, so it's still driving the politics of this country, but it's no longer doing it alone. So here, he was saying in Botswana, so we are out, but we are showing the world that we can have a peaceful transfer of power. And I think those parties are learning a lot as well from each other. So how Frelimo should treat this whole situation going forward, engaging with a party like the ANC, which basically, after dipping below 50, getting out of power, so was so matured. In fact, I remember people saying, wow, we never expected this. So when all other parties, and I think in South Africa we were so used to going to elections, but the outcome was some sort of a foregone conclusion. All of a sudden, the outcome was not a foregone conclusion, and it appeared like no one expected that kind of an outcome. But the ANC, which really was the one which had actually lost the biggest, because it lost 70% of the vote, so was the one to say, we accept what the South Africans have said, and then we'll be an adult in the room. So no one got an absolute majority, an outright majority, so let's get together. That's why you have the GNU. So these parties are learning a lot from them as well, because they're having their own challenges, and I don't know what will happen in their next elections. Yes, these ones could be resolved because there will be people who will sit down and engage them. But already it's a foretaste of things that may possibly come in the next 5 years, given that your ally, your key ally in the region, is able to steer the ship despite its own difficulties. What is stopping you so that you don't always use the army to stay in power unnecessarily? So I think this for me is part of learning from each other as fraternal organizations.
I want to touch again on Mozambique, but I want to pause that for now, because of course we know that the inauguration there in that country is going to be happening anytime soon. But you touched on a little bit on something else that I want us to talk about, and of course it's an elephant in the room. I think also the MK party mentioned a little bit of the what we're seeing in the alliance with the SACP specifically. Where is that going to go in terms of the position that the ANC is going to take? Because we know, of course, that the SACP and the ANC are yet to go into those pertinent discussions and talks. Not too long ago, in fact, during the cake cutting ceremony, President Cyril Ramaphosa made mention of the tripartite alliance, saying that he feels confident that things will be resolved, given the fact that he read out the messages of support from the SACP and COSATU. But a lot of attention now is in terms of, to what end? What are we likely to see? The SACP saying that it is going to go independently into the next election, yet remains firmly into the tripartite alliance. How does that work?
I mean, let's be honest. The alliance is no longer the alliance that we used to know. It is basically, so they've been calling for the reconfiguration of the alliance, but I can tell you it somehow has been reconfigured in its own way, so it's never going to be the same. I know the meeting is coming between the ANC and the SACP to speak about this, but I can tell you from what the SACP is saying and believes in, there's no turning back. I think earlier in the week, I said the train has left the station, and I firmly believe it has left the station. How you reconfigure it going along, so it's something else. But in terms of perhaps mending the ways, it's not possible at this stage. The SACP has decided they are testing the electoral support.
And I see the national chair is back on the podium. We know, of course, that some of those partners that we're speaking about are yet to deliver their messages before we hear from ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa. But let's see if we can listen in.
As presidents, capture history of the ANC. Sisekhaya. We took a conscious decision over size ekhaya elitsha sike sifike sibe lapha phakathi kwenu senzela into yoba niyibone i-ANC niyibambe niyithande niyishawute niyipolishe silapha size kuni bantu base-Western Cape sakwenza le nto ke ngoku JJ Jalisisu awuzosamkela ichairperson yase-Western Cape izosamkela masimamele.
Amandla! Happy birthday, ANC! Happy birthday! Happy birthday, ANC! Happy birthday! Kula, ANC! Kula! Kula, ANC! Kula! Amandla. Long live President Ramaphosa, long live. Long live President Ramaphosa, long live. Amandla. Molweni Khayelitsha. Goeiemôre. Comrade President, Comrade Deputy President, national officials and members of the NEC, provincial and regional leaders present here, ambassadors, high commissioners, and chief representatives of various countries, faith-based leaders, religious leaders, former leaders of the ANC present here, Comrade Khalima and Comrade Balekambete, comrades, friends, and esteemed guests. On Wednesday, the 8th January 2025, the ANC became 113 years old and continued to be the oldest liberation movement in the continent. We celebrated that day throughout the length and breadth of our province. We could not have chosen a better place than visiting Robben Island. Today, as we gather here in the heart of Khayelitsha to celebrate this anniversary of our beloved movement, we stand not only in remembrance of our rich history, but also in recognition of the urgent challenges that confront us today. This gathering is a testament to our resilience, our commitment to justice, and our unwavering belief in a better future for all South Africans. The Western Cape has played a pivotal role in the resistance struggle against apartheid, from the early protest against inequality to the watershed moment of the 1976 student uprising. This province has been a crucible of activism and courage. The brutal response to peaceful demonstrations galvanized communities and ignite a spirit of defiance that spread across the nation. The sacrifices made by our people here laid the groundwork for the broader anti-apartheid movement, showcasing the Western Cape as a beacon of hope and resistance. We must also honor our liberation heroes from this region, whose sacrifices paved the way for our freedom. Amongst them is Basil February, whose recent rebellion reminds us of the enduring legacy of those who fought tirelessly for justice. His contribution, along with those of countless others, serve as a powerful reminder that our struggle continues. We must carry their torch forward and ensure that their dreams for a just society are realized. The Western Cape is also a home to countless other anti-apartheid struggle icons like Anthony Franz, Dala Omar, Robbie Waterwitch, Colin Williams, Christmas Tinto, Nosipho Ntwanambi, and many others. As we look around us, we cannot ignore the glaring contradictions that define our province. In the leafy suburbs of Sea Point and Camps Bay, we witness opulence and privilege that seems worlds apart from the harsh realities faced by our brothers and sisters in Nyanga, Guguletu, Misha's Plain, Manenberg, and right here in Khayelitsha. While some enjoy lifestyle, many of our people enjoy deplorable living conditions under-resourced informal settlements where access to drinking water and sanitation is a daily struggle. This stark inequality is not merely a statistic. It is a painful reality that impacts families and communities. It is a legacy of apartheid that continues to cast a long shadow over our society. For nearly 2 decades, the Democratic Alliance has governed this province, perpetuating systems that favor the privileged and few, while neglecting the vast majority of our people, those who are black, those who are poor, and those who have yet to taste the true fruits of freedom. We must confront this reality with courage and compassion. The ANC was founded in 1912 as a tool for liberation, a movement dedicated to dismantle the vestiges of apartheid colonialism. After 113 years of struggle and sacrifice, we must renew our vows to tackle these contradictions head on. Our commitment to the poor and marginalized must be unwavering. We call upon the Human Rights Commission to visit Khayelitsha and witness firsthand the living conditions that deny our people their constitutional enshrined right. Let us be clear, while we may engage with various parties of government, we are not in control of the Western Cape. The DA remains a party that serves the interests of the white privilege while sidelining the black voices. The ANC is not just a political party. It is a hope of our people, the embodiment of their aspirations for dignity, equality, and justice. I invite each one of you, party members and citizens alike, to reflect on our shared responsibility. Let us internalize the message that will be shared today by our president and commit ourselves to act on key priority areas that will uplift our communities. Together, let us forge a path towards liberation, a path where every South African can live with dignity and hope. Let me, on behalf of the Provincial Executive Committee and the entire membership of the ANC in the Western Cape, welcome to the beautiful province of the Western Cape, in Cape Town, in Khayelitsha. Amandla!
Amandla! Awethu! Mamelani ke. Siyanithanda abantu base-Western Cape. Siyanithanda abantu base-Khayelitsha. Siyanithanda abantu base-Western Cape. Siyanithanda abantu base-Khayelitsha. Siyavuya uba nigcwele apha. Masamkele inkosi ezikhoyo apha zonke. Zonke inkosi. Kukho nenkosi zangapha. Inkosi zaBapedi. uKhuni Manyako. Thulare ulapha. Uzojoyina inkosi zalapha. Masamkele zonke inkosi. Siyavuya uba befundisi bakhona apha. Sibulele aba bathandazileyo nabangakhange bavele. Sizawufumana istatement. Esi statement sawubekwa ngupresident. Ayo presidential speech. Yima. Yabona wami ndiwaphethe etasini amanzi. Mamelani ndiwaphethe apha etasini. Mamelani. I-statement esasifumana ayiso speech nje president. Si-statement se-National Executive Committee. I-NEC kayiphakame siyibone. NEC mayiphakame siyibone. Si-statement sayo esi sizawunikwa sona apha namhlanje. Enkosi. Masenza ngolu hlobo. Masamkele i-messages of support. Sango President Richard Mkhungo sondela ba. Richard Mkhungo, President of Sango sondela. Zingiswalosi, President of Kosatu ube ready. Tulas Messi, Deputy National Chairperson of the party ube ready.
Yeah. Thank you. Amanda! Amanda! Viva ANC, viva! Viva SABC, viva! Viva Kosatu, viva! Viva Sanko, viva! Thank you very much, comrades. The Alliance leadership present, the Progressive Youth Alliance leadership, the traditional leadership present, the national liberation movements from various countries, our progressive pastors present, branches and supporters of the African National Congress, and the Alliance at large. Thank you, National Chairperson. We extend our revolutionary greetings to the ANC President, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa. The entire leadership of the ANC present, the General Secretary of SANCO, Comrade Mike Sogo, and the entire NEC leadership that are here. We greet you all, comrades. We would like to firstly express our revolutionary gratitude to the ANC, to the opportunity we are given as SANCO to deliver a message of support in this important gathering. The January 8th statement for this year, comrades, marks a significant milestone achieved by the African National Congress. What I like, President, we were impressed last week. We were impressed last week in that the Communist Party commemorated our struggle stalwart, Comrade Joslov. The ANC also did the same in a different manner. But what we want to say, comrades, is that we admire Comrade Joe Slovo, because Joe Slovo, our sitting president, Comrade Ramaphosa, Comrade Tatu Mandela, negotiated the settlement here in South Africa. Comrade Joe Slovo masterminded the government of national unity. On the issue of reconciliation, reconciling our nation in South Africa, 1994, the government was a government of national unity. Buthelezi was part of the government. Big Borders, de Klerks were part of that government. Today we have a government of national unity, which is not different to that, dictated by the circumstances that prevail. We thank the ANC's move to have this government of national unity, so that we have an opportunity to stabilize our country. We're saying to African National Congress, we appreciate that, but we're saying this African National Congress belongs to the people of South Africa. People of South Africa have leadership in the form of our civic movement. This civic movement argues that the African National Congress have no owner except the people of South Africa. As SANCO, we're going to continue to support our liberation movement. We were informed as the residents of South Africa that there are 3 stages that will be followed. The quantity to quality that was done, there is a stage of unity of the opposites, and that is the stage that we are in now. This is the stage for our African National Congress to lead the process of the National Democratic Revolution. Otherwise, we can't be confused. We're not political blind as SANCO. We stick to that. We are going to mobilize, and we have started mobilizing for the victory of the ANC come local government elections. We are all Sabahlali going to vote for the African National Congress. No doubt about that. We are going to defend this organization that belongs to Abahlali. This is our organization. We own it. We are going to mobilize the communities that come local government elections. We are going to vote for the ANC. We are very happy with the program of the ANC. We are happy with the manifesto. So we are in line. That is why we are going to lead the campaign. We were told before to render the country governable. When the ANC took over as SANCO, we make the country governable. Therefore, we'll continue to support the African Congress. We support this program all the way. And we must say, we are part, whenever the ANC develop programs, we become part as alliance partners. We endorse those programs, we make contributions. Therefore, we're going to vote for this African National Congress. Thank you very much.
Amanda, alimamela upresident wabasebenzi ngoku. Ngizawumamela upresident wabasebenzi ngoku. Zingisa.
Mandla! Mandla! Long live the African National Congress, long live! Long live the South African Communist Party, long live. Long live COSATU, long live. Malibongwe. Long live Sanko, long live. Diabulela. Dibulela kuwe Mqwathi. Dibulele. Dibulise kumongameli we-African National Congress nesigqeba sonke ne-alliance umbimbi ngokubanzi naye wonke umuntu olapha. Silapha siyikhosatu. Silapha siyikhosatu ukuzothi siyabulela kwi-African National Congress ngokuzisa elitheko apha ekhaya elitsha. We honor the history of our liberation veterans who fought for the struggle of the people of South Africa. Western Cape, apha ekhaya elitsha, sikhuphe inkokheli ezifana kunye noJoe Slovo, Oscar Mpetha, Dalcy September, Dala Omar. Bona abathe bayiva ingxaki yabantu abahluphekileyo. Silapha kunye ne-African National Congress uzokuthi i-ANC xa isenza i-renewal lixesha eli lokuthi sisondele kubantu bethu, abantu abaphangeli, abantu abanamisebenzi. Ulutsha lulambile president. Kumelezekile xa i-ANC isuka apha ekhaya elitsha kubekho umahluko kubantu balapha. Kungapheleli ukuba ngaba bezile bazobhiyoza, kodwa babhiyoze uba ngaba bayakwazi ukuya esikolweni, bayakwazi ukuphangela. Abafuna ukuvula amashishini abo mongameli bayazi ukuba ngaba bakhuselekile. Bayasibuza ke abanye Mqwathi ukuba why iCOSATU iselapha kwi-alliance. Sifuna ukuthi kwabo babuzayo namhlanje abasebenzi eMzantsi Afrika banelungelo lokuya emsebenzini be-organized. Banelungelo lokuba ngaba bahambe boxoxa izimo zabo zokuphangela. Banelungelo lokuba ngaba bathi xana bengaxolanga bakwazi ukuya kurhulumente bafike bathethe ingxaki zabo bengakhange babe bayahlukunyezwa. Namhlanje abasebenzi boMzantsi Afrika phantsi kwe-African National Congress ne-alliance yonke bane-national minimum wage. There is no worker in South Africa that must be paid less than 27 rand 58 cents nge-hour. Nditsho wena uyi-domestic worker. Loo nto leyo yenzeke ngenxa kaMbimbi. Namhlanje omama notata bayakwazi ukuthi bahambe xana befumene abantwana bayohlala emakhaya, bakhulise abantwana, baclaim i-maternity ne-paternity. Namhlanje abasebenzi kunyaka ophelileyo bafumene imali zabo kwi-two-pot pension kungenxa kaMbimbi. Namhlanje abasebenzi abaphangela emakhaya bayakwazi ukuba ngaba bakhuseleke phantsi kwe-Hosh Act Mqwathi kungenxa kaMbimbi. Namhlanje abasebenzi boMzantsi Afrika noMzantsi Afrika wonke abantu abangaphangeliyo bafumana i-350 social distress grant kungenxa kaMbimbi. Namhlanje sibiza i-basic income grant ukuba ngaba mayibe yinto eyawuthi besisibonelelo sabantu abangaphangeliyo. I-African National Congress, i-alliance yonke ayikho enye esondeleyo ebantwini boMzantsi Afrika. Sifuna ukuthi ke xana sigubha i-113 years ye-African National Congress, President Cyril Ramaphosa, kukho umahluko phakathi komqombothi nevanya. Umqombothi kuthathwa ixesha loba mawudidiyelwe umqombothi awulala uvuka uwenze uyawucelela edlozini. Yiloo nto kufanele into yoba ngaba i-ANC ithi xa isithi yazirenewa izikhangela into yoba ngaba ayiyo na ivanya isenguwona umqombothi. Kuba kaloku ivanya ifana naba baphumileyo apha kwi-ANC bayovula ezinye izinto zabo kuba abantu bancaniwe bancanela ukuphatha. Sifuna ukuthi kwi-NEC ye-ANC phathani kakuhle abantu boMzantsi Afrika, phathani kakuhle abantu abahlwebezekileyo eMzantsi Afrika, sondelane ebantwini abangananto ukwenzela into yoba ngaba kunyaka ozayo ka-2026 nibe nokwazi ukuthi lo mbimbi uzawuthi akwazi uziwina i-local government elections. Umntu emntwini mqwathi, siyabulela.
Tolo sondela amakomanisi ngokwawo.
Amandla, viva ANC, viva, viva Kosatu, viva, viva Sanko, viva. Ndiyabulela kusihlalo kazwelonke we-African National Congress. Ndibulise inkokheli zonke ze-African National Congress nombimbi ngokukhokhelwa umongameli uComrade Cyril Ramaphosa. On behalf of the SACP and the General Secretary of the party who is in Venezuela in the inauguration of President Maduro, I want to say we salute the ANC on its 113th founding anniversary. The history of South Africa's democratic breakthrough in April 1994 cannot be told without recognizing the ANC's outstanding leadership. The SACP acknowledges the ANC's leadership in achieving massive social progress in the field of education, housing, water and sanitation, electrification, health, social security and gender equity, which has happened since 1994. The progress under the ANC-led government has improved the lives of the millions, particularly amongst the workers, both employed and unemployed as a class. On this joyous day, as we reflect on the years of the struggle, we can ask, where would we be now without the ANC? I would also add, where would we be without the alliance? We have a crisis of over 12 million unemployed, active and discouraged work seekers, and further retrenchments, including the recent unacceptable announcement to terminate the workers' contracts in the public employment programs. And these are mainly young people. The material conditions caused by the racialized and gendered crisis, high rates of unemployment, poverty and inequality are amongst the objective factors that have badly affected the ANC's performance in the elections. Subjective factors such as internal divisions and fragmentation along state capture and other forms of corruption clearly impacted the ANC's electoral and political support, with far-reaching implications for the alliance as a whole. Hence, the call for the renewal. We, the SACP, remain in the alliance and committed to strengthening the alliance. Despite our decision in our special Congress, a strong alliance means a strong NDR, A strong alliance needs reconfiguration, which has not materialized despite our efforts over 17 years to achieve it through the engagement, even when we had reached an agreement as the 4 alliance partners on this topic. We say this fully recognizing the character of our alliance. Ours is a strategic alliance of independent and interdependent partners. As things stand, without the alliance reconfiguration, the independence of the working class partners in the alliance stands to be compromised. This is completely undesirable. When as 4 independent organizations we say we are committed to work together as allies, we must walk the talk. We must follow inclusive approaches in shaping the political, economic, and social policies, the strategies and the tactics required to advance our shared strategy, the national democratic revolution, as well as in leading it together. So our independence, anchored in consensus-seeking democratic consultation with one another in joint alliance decision-making process, must serve as a pillar of strength to our interdependence. To be sure, our resolution is to exercise our independence on all fronts of struggles, not to leave the alliance, an alliance we have dedicated so much time to building over the last 100 years. Those who say Mabahambe need to analyze and theorize the moment very well. I appeal to all the leaders of the alliance. We must not engage in populist name-calling insults, personal attacks, but come together and debate the issues, debate the difficult moment. The ANC's response to this debate, we believe it will not be dismissive and insulting. We need cool heads and deep discussions. We look forward to our bilateral in the coming weeks. The SACP's decision, we must say it, is not a Mapaila decision. And unfortunately, it's a Congress decision. So our ally is the ANC, not the DA. As strategic allies of the ANC, we want to use this opportunity to highlight a few points for our way forward. The working class are the majority of our people, and they need large-scale employment creation programs to mitigate unemployment crisis. High-impact, adequately funded industrial policy to drive the broad-based industrialization. And we also need a number of package of measures, state-led infrastructure. That development is very important, strengthening the state participation in critical infrastructure. A comprehensive poverty eradication programs to lift our people out of poverty. A radical program to resolve the crisis, high wealth and income inequalities. Speedy implementation of the Sovereign Wealth Fund to secure the long-term national financial interest, and a decisive advance towards the Universal Basic Income Grant. Holistic implementation of the National Insurance Fund to ensure the universal access. With those few words, we say happy birthday to the ANC. Amandla. Amandla. Thank you.
Amandla. Awethu. Matla. Mamelani ke. Kule veki sikuyo. Gaume. Izikolo savuliwe. Izikolo savuliwe wethu sisi. kani esikolweni izikolo zivuliwe mamelani ke kule veki sikuyo sishiywe nguDok Shebeleza uWinnie Khumalo so inhliziyo zethu zibhlungu masivunyelwe sithethe kuhlile okusihleleyo ngoku sizawucela upresident we-ANC asinike umyalezo we-NEC ngoku sizawucela upresident we-ANC asinike umyalezo we-NEC mamelani ke uyabona ke hayi imani kuloo ndawo imani hayi imbeko iyamakha umntu kanilinde imbeko iyamakha umntu lindani imbeko iyamakha umntu hlonipha nje ukwenza umuntu ongcono mamelani upresident uzawunika imessage ye-National Executive Committee funa sifunde into encinci uyabona ka usemeeting njengale ndinibole ndisithi hamba emeetingini umamela into oyithandayo umamela nento ongayithandiyo yi-essence ye-meeting ke leyo uba besicela nje into esizithandayo ngengekho umntu wakho siyevana imbeko iyamakha umntu sizawucela ningayifakela ngoma yenu phakama
sibakhule eyango sibakhule eTanzania sibasho somkhosi eAfrika samasho somkhosi eAfrika athe shilo hey gathambe ngalenda la kanje thathe manje mathamo khalisi kwa thathe madlala thamo khali enge nanje decrease chabe dlala phezu Tame yaifuna thamo yenge kaba yaifuna thamo kisayo
Ramaphosa sihamba nawe sikuthanda sonke emonombolo Ramaphosa sihamba nawe sikuthanda.
All right, well, there you have it. Some of the formalities have been cleared for ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa as he takes the podium. Of course, you've been watching rolling coverage of the SABC's ANC 130th anniversary birthday celebrations right here in Khayelitsha in the Western Cape. Of course, ANC President taking his stand to address the ANC supporters at the ANC January 8 statement. As the national chair of the ANC has stressed, this is the NEC statement for the ANC, charting the way forward for the party. Of course, the statement taking place in Khayelitsha in Cape Town in the Western Cape province is the first for the ANC since the party lost its electoral majority in the May 29, 2024 national and provincial elections. Much anticipation for this particular statement. However, most of the analysts, in fact, that we spoke to have indicated that much of the same will be repeated. But let's listen in to the ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Matimba Manda Viva ANC, viva! Viva COSATU, viva! Viva SACP, viva! Viva Sanko, viva! Amandla! Forward with the Western Cape, forward! Forward with Khayelitsha, forward! Amandla! Molweni! Dumelang! Goeiemiddag! Sanbonani! Abshin! Abshin! Demasiari! Demasiari! Amandla! Comrade Gwede Mantashe, the National Chairperson of the African National Congress, the Deputy President of the African National Congress and the Republic, Comrade Paul Mashatile, the Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Fiki Mbalula, Obambizu go to Razmataz, the first Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, Comrade Nomvula Mukonyani, the second Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Marupini Ramokhopa, the Treasurer General of the ANC, Dr. Gwen Ramokhopa, former Deputy President of the ANC and former President of the Republic of South Africa, Comrade Kgalema Motlanthe, former Deputy President of the ANC, National Chairperson rather of the ANC, and former Deputy President of the Republic, Comrade Baleka Mbete, the former leaders of the ANC at the NEC level who are here present, the current members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, the leadership of the alliance partners, COSATU, the SACP, SANCO, the leaders of the ANC leagues, the leaders and representatives of Umkhonto weSizwe Liberation War veterans, members of our fraternal organizations from a number of countries on our continent, as well as from other countries, members of the diplomatic corps, as in high commissioners and ambassadors, leaders of our religious sectors, traditional leaders of our people. I especially want to recognize Queen Masalana Abomujaji of the Balobedu and Regent Queen Manya Kutulare of the Bapedi Kingdom in Sikukuni. I also want to recognize traditional leaders who have traveled all the way from KZN to be with us here today. Comrades and friends and people of South Africa, it is a real honor to have this opportunity to present the January 8th statement of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. Ke motlotlo haholo ho nna ho ema mona pela lona ke beya statemente sa komiti e kgolo ya mokgatlo wa batho ANC, dat is vir my 'n eer om voor julle te staan om die verklaring van die Nasionale Uitvoerende Kommissie van die ANC op die 8 van Januarie by julle almal te bied. This year marks the 113th year anniversary of the formation of the African National Congress, the people's movement that was established to attain our freedom and to transform South Africa into a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous country. We are very pleased as the National Executive Committee sitting here on stage to welcome all of you in your thousands to this stadium to celebrate the birth of the ANC. Many thought that we would just have a few people coming here. You have come in your thousands and thousands. Siyabulela ukuthi nifike ngobninzi ukubonisa ukuthi ANC kumbutho wabantu, kumbutho wesizwe. Sithi labo abadelela iANC sanudelela umbutho wabantu ANC. iANC iyaphila, iyaqhuba, noma bayathanda noma bathandi. Sizawuqhuba siye phambili. Today we gather in Khayelitsha in the city of Cape Town, here in the Western Cape, on the southern tip of our country and our continent. It is here where the East and the West converge, where wealth and poverty also converge, where justice and injustice, where despair and hope also converged. It was dubbed the Cape of Storms, but it was also dubbed the Cape of Good Hope. It was on these southern shores of our country that the painful history of colonial conquest, of dispossession, of oppression and exploitation started more than 340 years ago. It was driven by forces that sought to exploit the resources of our country, both in human terms and also in material terms. It was here where theft was committed, where they came from outer shores of our continent to come and steal our resources, to come and enslave our people. They came here in the quest to commit genocide, and they committed the genocide of the Khoi and the San, and it was here where prolonged wars with our African communities ensued. The colonialists imported slaves from Malay and also indentured laborers from India and China and countries along the east coast of our continent. The subjugation of all these people resulted in a complex relationship of domination and subordination. It defined some people as more human and others as less human. Abanye bati asingabo abantu, abanye bazibona bengabantu bengaphezulu kwabanye abantu. It was here that the proud and unbroken tradition of resistance and struggle for liberation started. From the Battle of Salt River in 1510, where the Khoi, the Abatwa, defeated the Portuguese through the successive wars of resistance led by great heroes of our people. We remember heroes such as Asumato, Makoma, Hinsa, Sikukuni, Tachwayo, Makado, Mansopa, Mojaji, Mushweshwe, Gungunyani, and many others battled against the colonialists. The spear of resistance was carried forward through the Bambata Rebellion in KZN in 1906, mass resistance in the 50s, when the ANC Youth League leaders, as in the form of Ubaba Walter Sisulu, Ulembete, Umandela, Utambo, and many others, embarked on a defiance campaign. The People's Army was then formed in the early 60s. The 1976 generation and the mass democratic movement of the 80s. All those acts of resistance had their genesis here in the Western Cape. And that is why we pay tribute to the people of the Western Cape. Siyanibonga ninonke ukuthi apha e-Western Cape naqala umzabalazo wokulwisa labo bebesiqindezela. Today we once again meet in a context of ongoing global crisis and stubborn challenges abroad and at home. The people of the Western Cape and South Africa continue to be confronted by unemployment. Abaninzi abantu bakuthi abaphangeli. Abaninzi abantu bakuthi bayahlupheka. Ukungalingani kuya phambili. And we have many other challenges that we have to confront. These challenges include crime, violence, gender-based violence, and femicide. They include drug abuse, unequal access to education, challenges such as water and sanitation, bad roads, and shortage of housing. There is a new political environment also in our country following the May 2024 elections. Your movement, the African National Congress, is no longer in the majority in Parliament to form government on its own, and now leads a government of national unity with 9 other political parties. The ANC is committed to decisive action on 3 urgent and interrelated fronts to regain the confidence of the majority of our people in our ability to represent their hopes and aspirations. Even as we are not in complete ourselves control where we govern on our own, the African National Congress still leads. The president of the country is ANC. The majority of members of the cabinet are ANC. So therefore, isaqhuba i-African National Congress noxa ingafumananga i-50%. Our priorities are firstly, to improve the ability of our economy to create jobs and to ensure that we improve the lives of our people. Secondly, we seek to improve the quality of services and integrity, responsiveness and accountability of government in all spheres. Thirdly, we aim to renew and rebuild the ANC so that it can provide decisive and ethical leadership in the resolution of our country's problems. Sithi xa sijonga siyayibona ukuthi ANC iyavuka, iyashukuma, ukuba khona kwenu apha namhlanje kubonisa ukuthi ANC iyavuka ngempela, isaphila futhi isasnawo amandla. Siyabulela. Ons is baie dankbaar want dit wys dat die ANC is 'n organisasie wat lewe. Dit is 'n organisasie wat vorentoe gaan. Re leboga gore mokgatlo ona wa lona o ntse o tswella pele, o ntse o bontsha gore ke ona o tlang etapele setšhaba sena sa heso. Ba rata kapa ba rate ANC tswella pele, le bao ba sa e rateng ba e bona gore ya pele. Ngaeno maipfi ziko bonala uri hei ANC dzangano helinoni liko uya phanda, bane ba sa lifune bako dilibona lichiya phanda, ba zwifuna namusi ba sa zwifuni. Ya mahlweni hina ayimanga ndawo yin'we. We take this moment to observe. This year we observe the 70th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, a profoundly revolutionary document that serves as the enduring blueprint of our society and of a future that we seek to create. The adoption of the Freedom Charter in 1955 and the inclusive and participatory manner in which it was compiled was a watershed moment in the history of our country, but particularly in the struggle against colonialism and apartheid and patriarchy. The Freedom Charter was also inspired by the efforts of the women of our country who, the year before, 1955, launched the Federation of South African Women, FEDSO, and adopted a women's charter. This laid the foundation for the incorporation of the struggle for gender equality into the national struggle for liberation. The Freedom Charter inspired generations that followed, from workers to women, the rural masses of our country, and students and young people, professionals, as well as business people. The Freedom Charter provided impetus for non-racialism and for unity in the struggle for all national groups to be equal. The process initiated by the ANC to develop the constitutional guidelines that laid the foundation for our constitution today in the 1980s was based on the Freedom Charter. Thus, the adoption of the democratic transformative Constitution of the Republic of South Africa was a decisive step in dismantling the institutional and legal foundation of racism and the various codes of colonial apartheid and patriarchal power. Now, out of the crucible of struggle, the people of South Africa made the clarion call in the Freedom Charter that South Africa belongs to all. And as we celebrate the Freedom Charter this year, we will be focusing on the key elements of the Freedom Charter and focusing on what our forebears put forward in the aspirations of the Freedom Charter, and also to see the extent to which by non-racialism, non-sexism, and unity in diversity. Secondly, to build a democratic state that is based on the will of the people without regard to race, class, gender, belief, language, ethnicity, and geographic location. And thirdly, to build a society that is based on the best human values, restoring the dignity and guaranteeing the freedoms and human rights of all the people of our country and improving their quality of life. And fourthly, to build a transformed, inclusive, and thriving economy that offers opportunity and decent livelihoods to all the people of South Africa, including the restoration of the birthright of all South Africans to the land, to finance, to skills, and other resources. Now, the success of this vision is objectively in the best interest of all South Africans. And in the main, the African National Congress is the one organization that has championed all these key objectives over decades and decades since its formation. The change that is envisaged by the National Democratic Revolution, and which is also encapsulated in the Freedom Charter and the Constitution of our Republic, represents the best in human civilization, where no one is left behind. The strategic alliance between the National Liberation Movement, the African National Congress, working together with the SACP, the Trade Union Federation, COSATU, and later the civic movement, SANCO, is possibly one of the best examples of the success of a united front that has worked best in the world. The alliance remains the proven vehicle to uplift the working class and the poor. And I must pause here and thank the leaders of the alliance components who to and from the SACP who spoke about the need for unity of the alliance. It is through this alliance that we have won historic victories. That is why City Pambele Nekosatu Pambele. That is why City Pambele Nesanko Pambele. That is why City Pambele Namakomanisi Pambele. Kubalulekile ukuthi le alliance iqhube isebenze kunye. Le alliance singayiqhekezi. Le alliance singayihlukanisi. Iqhube iye phambili isebenze kunye. Kungabi nalabo abazawuphumela ngaseceleni. Kungabi nalabo abazofuna ukuthi bamele ngaseceleni. I-alliance yethu yiyona eyasiletha apha kule ndawo lasikhona. U-Oliver Tambo wabona ukuthi le alliance has been put together in struggle by the sweat and the blood of our people. It is therefore important that this alliance must remain united. Let us unite the alliance and not divide this revolutionary alliance. Now, this alliance, as we have heard, has led to many victories, victories that have improved the lives of our people, the victories that the three leaders of the alliance partners also spoke about here. The alliance is a living organism that developed and matured over almost a century under difficult and different conditions, constantly adopting its role as the phases of our struggle change. The National Democratic Revolution is our shared theory of fundamental change, and the Freedom Charter remains our common minimum program as the Alliance. We have made substantial progress in achieving the objectives of the NDR. To continue to achieve the change we envisage requires strong organization, ongoing mass mobilization of society, and unity of progressive forces. During this week, as we were going through the length and the breadth of this province, from the south to the north, from the east to the west, we gave ourselves an opportunity as leaders of the ANC to meet our people, and they all spoke with one voice that they want to see the ANC emerging strong. They spoke with one voice, saying they want to see unity of the African National Congress. And they all said, without unity, our revolution will be defeated also by counter-revolution. In last year's January 8th statement, we drew attention to the fact that there is a common cause between anti-transformation forces and the state capture forces to destroy the African National Congress from within, and also to dislodge the ANC from power. Part of the counter-revolutionary tactic is to promote breakaway parties to erode the support base of the ANC. Abaninzi benu niyazi ke ukuthi amanye amaqembu azisusa apha ku-ANC. They broke away, they formed their own splinter parties, hoping that they will weaken and destroy the ANC. Bebonke noxa bephumile apha ku-ANC, they remain small and weak. I-African National Congress iyaqhuba, iyaqina, iqhubela phambili. They try to weaken the ANC by having all these splinter organizations. You know, xa ungajonga kakuhle, many of those other parties ezingaseceleni ku-ANC, many of them zisuka apha ku-ANC. Basuka apha ngoba bengathandi into ezithize ze-ANC, bangathandi ezinye inkokeli ze-ANC. Xa bephuma apha, they think they will weaken the ANC. So bayihlule i-ANC. They will never defeat the African National Congress. Some of these parties masquerade as more radical than the ANC, but their revolutionary sounding rhetoric cannot hide the reality that they have common cause with the forces opposing transformation. The shared goal of all these forces is to deprive the ANC of the ability to use state power to effect change. To pursue the NDR effectively, the democratic movement needs to have a decisive influence over the state and a clear mandate to govern in pursuit of fundamental change. Without state power, the NDR will not succeed. And one organization only can have state power, and that is the African National Congress. Abanye aba bayaphupha nje. Uma bethi bafuna state power, state power will always be in the hands of the African National Congress. The outcome of the May 2024 elections has been characterized by the National Executive Committee of the ANC as a strategic setback for the ANC-led National Democratic Revolution and the Congress movement as a whole. For any liberation movement or any progressive party, losing a majority in government is a strategic setback. We have to be honest that the outcome of the May elections was a really sad moment for the African National Congress. It was a huge setback for the ANC. Without an effective response, such a setback can halt or derail the progress of socio-economic transformation. The reasons for our electoral decline include the state of the economy. It also includes the crisis of unemployment and social reproduction. The reasons for our decline also include poor basic services and deficiencies of capable, ethical, and responsive governance, as well as the ANC's organizational weakness and our damaged brand. A combination of some of these reasons led to many of our traditional supporters, as well as voters, staying away from the elections or voting for other parties. We accept this, and the extent and depth of the electoral loss points to an organization that has lost significant support and public confidence. This may be a painful reality for us to accept, but our healing lies in accepting the depth of dysfunction in our structures and amongst our members and leadership. One of the reasons we lost is because our branches have become weak. Our branches are no longer functioning in the way they used to. Izolo bendiphaya eDelft ndadibana nomunye umama wathi president ibranches zethu ze-ANC azisekho azisaphili and leyo nto for thina abantu abahamba ne-ANC sukela kudala iyenza ukuthi inhliziyo zethu zibe buhlungu. Loyo mama apha eDelft wayethetha inyani. Many of our other leaders, in going through our various areas, eKhayelitsha, eGugulethu, P na P, sifumana ukuthi our branches have become weak. Ndaya naphaya eAthlone, eRylands, eMitchells Plain, and we found exactly the same thing. Our branches have become weak, and the weakening of our branches has led to us losing the ability to govern on our own. So this, comrades, is a huge lesson for us. We need to revive our branches. We need to work hard. Sibe nemvuselelo yama branch wethu. Sevuse ama branch ANC. Senze ukuthi asebenze avuke. The question that the ANC has to answer at this moment was how. At that moment was how, under conditions not of our choosing, how we were going to safeguard and advance the National Democratic Revolution, and how we were going to re-establish the ANC as a credible and well-supported force for progress and change in society. The National Executive Committee, sitting here on stage, swiftly started mapping out for the formation of an inclusive ANC-led government of national unity. It is on the basis of this NEC mandate that negotiations were held with all other political parties represented in Parliament. The Secretary General of the African National Congress and other officials were then mandated to enter into negotiations with the various political parties in the Parliament and legislatures. In the end, 10 parties agreed to join the ANC-led government of national unity based on the statement of intent. Through the statement of intent, the parties have made a firm commitment to respect the Constitution of our country, to promote the rule of law, and to promote accountability, transparency, integrity, and good governance. The formation of the GNU is a tactical decision to pursue the national democratic revolution under new conditions that were occasioned by the electoral setback. The ANC's strategic objective has not changed, but we pursue this objective under conditions we no longer have a majority, when we no longer have a majority to form a government on our own, but in cooperation with other parties. As the ANC, we are determined to regain public confidence and return as a majority party in the next elections. Uma siya kulolu khetho olulandelayo sizabuya siyi-majority party. Bayathanda noma bathande, i-ANC izawubuya iphethe yodwa. In the meantime, comrades, we will work with other political parties, even those with whom we have fundamental differences, to secure space for addressing the needs of our people as articulated in our 2024 election manifesto. Now, the false notion that the character of the ANC and strategy of the ANC has now been redefined by a single tactic of forming a broad, inclusive government of national unity is really a distortion of the realities our movement faced and should be dismissed out of hand. Bacinga ukuthi sesishintshile. We are no longer the ANC of old. We remain the African National Congress with our principles, being very clear on what we stand for. Similarly, the idea that a progressive party cannot engage its opponents in short-term tactical agreements without selling out is a lie and is ahistorical. Our own experience, as well as the experiences of many revolutionary movements, show that there are moments where conditions require that you work with your opponents to secure space for the revolution to regain momentum. And that is precisely what we have done. The movement, therefore, has to ensure that the tactical initiative which we gained through the formation of the ANC-led government of national unity is being used effectively to open space and to advance to the benefit of the motive forces and all South Africans. In the end, the ANC remains committed to forge national consensus on fundamental issues that affect our diverse nation. While being flexible on tactics, comrades, we maintain firmness of principle, our determination to implement transformative laws and policies adopted by the Parliament of our country, such as the Basic Education Law Amendment, the BELA Act, the National Health Insurance, the NHI, and other important pieces of legislation will continue without any reversal and without any doubt. That is how the ANC will continue. We call on all ANC cadres who are deployed in government to move with speed and to confidently build strategic momentum for the rapid implementation of the priorities of the 7th Democratic Administration. This is not the time to be tentative or to be doubtful, but this is the time to be decisive and to move forward with a great deal of confidence. Now, we have a number of priorities, priority actions that we are going to be focusing on with specific tasks for 2025. The strategic task of advancing the NDR does not change year after year because the task is based on the resolutions of our national conference. However, the order of priority actions and the specific tasks and the specific line of action will change from time to time, and additional tasks may be added and may arise in each year depending on the changes in the objective conditions that we have to face. Now, the renewal of the ANC remains the #1 priority, while resolving a number of other challenges such as fixing local government, challenges such as the water crisis in our country, challenges such as ensuring that we create more and more jobs. Now, these are challenges that we have to continue to address. Our first priority is decisive and visible action to renew the ANC. The 2024 election results confirm that we face an existential crisis, and this is a moment wherein the ANC should either renew itself or perish. And this is an important lesson that we have learned from the past elections. Unless we renew ourselves, unless we ensure that the ANC is renewed, we face the danger, yes, of perishing as a movement. The election outcome has taught us an important lesson. We have to do much more work with greater urgency and determination. The cornerstone of our renewal agenda, comrades, remains building our movement's capacity to discharge its historical mission. This includes strengthening the presence of the ANC in our communities and making sure that our branches, as I was saying earlier, focus on issues of development, focus on issues of ensuring that it will lead society. Now, the work of building our branches is the responsibility of all structures of the ANC, but it is also the responsibility of all leaders of the ANC, not just the leaders who are sitting here on stage. It is the provincial leaders, it is the regional leaders who are also here. Investing in the ideological development of ANC members is another important area of work that we must perform. Renewal as such is about fixing the ANC. It is as much as also improving the quality of governance and service delivery and fast-tracking the fundamental socio-economic transformation of our country. Now, pursuant to the renewal tasks that we set last year, we launched the ANC Foundational Course to ensure that all members of the ANC go through this course, and that includes the leaders as well. And with regard to ensuring that we foster a culture of ethics and integrity, we have strengthened the terms of reference of our Integrity Commission. Further, we have introduced a compulsory course on ethics and integrity in the political education curriculum. Now, enhancing the quality of membership is key to the renewal of the ANC. We have also paid attention to our membership system so that people who join the ANC must know that they are not joining to be members of other members. Abantu be join ANC, o join wena as a member, au join omunye umuntu ozafuna ukuthi akusebenzise. So that's how our membership system is now going to work. Now, a renewed ANC must also focus on discipline. Kube nokuziphatha kakuhle in the African National Congress. We are going to continue to make sure that there is discipline within the African National Congress. Kungabi nabantu abazawucinga ukuthi bangayenza noma intoni na abayithandayo. Hoskaba li o otla nahanang hore yena o ka iketsetsa ntho a e ratang mona o ANC. ANC na le melao, o tlamehile hore ha o joina ANC o tsebe hore o joina mokgatlo wa melao, o joina hore o itshware hantle, o ska tlo itshwara o ka re wena o rata ntho o etsa ntho o e ratang fela. And we said last year, as renewal gains momentum, those who conduct themselves in conflict with our values, who conduct themselves in corrupt manners, and who become careerists, who become factionalists, and those who actively work against the unity of the organizations will find themselves outside of the ANC. That is already happening. Those who want to divide the organization, they are finding themselves outside of the African National Congress. The renewal of the ANC, therefore, is about ensuring that we have an organization that is going to be based on excellence. So that our renewal tasks are well laid out, and we must therefore ensure that our branches embark on various activities that are going to advance the lives of our people in all ways. And we must ensure that our cadres do participate in community activities as well. They must assist the indigents in our communities, the elderly people, to also register for free basic services and access public health services. And one of the tasks of the ANC branch must be to mobilize communities to participate in various other activities. Now, as part of a caring organization that respects fundamental human rights, the ANC members should always be in the forefront to advocate the rights of people with disability, people from the LGBTQI+ community, and also people from vulnerable groups. But we must also make sure that we strengthen our leagues, the ANC Women's League and the ANC Youth League. We must strengthen them. We are pleased that they've held successful conferences and are making meaningful contributions to the life of the ANC and championing issues affecting women and young people. We thank the ANC Women's League for continuing to lead the charge on raising the issue of gender-based violence and femicide in our country. Sethi malibongwe. Igama lamakhosikazi. We also thank the ANC Youth League for continuing to raise the issue of youth unemployment. We thank the ANC Youth League for continuing to raise the economic issues that we need to address, and they have raised the issue of the beneficiation of our minerals very, very sharply, and therefore we thank them for doing so. We also thank the ANC Veterans League for continuing to be the custodians of the ANC's history and also championing the renewal process in the ANC. We also thank the MK Liberation War veterans. Sithetha nge-MK yenyani, the ANC Liberation War veterans, that they continue to play a key role in championing the interests of ex-combatants of the People's Army Umkhonto weSizwe, and also to act as a major resource for the political education in the ANC. The ANC National General Council that will be held later this year will be an important forum for strategic assessment of the balance of forces both globally and domestically. It will enable a stock-taking of the rebuilding and renewal process of the ANC. So this year, we hold a very important gathering following our last national conference, which is the National General Council, which is an assessment forum for the progress that we have made or not made in advancing the cause of the National Democratic Revolution. Our second priority, comrades, is fixing local government and ensuring that local government works well, ensuring that omasipala bethu basebenza kakuhle. As we look throughout the country, we find that the most important area of government, which is local government, has not been functioning as well as it should. The National Executive Committee has decided that we need to focus on fixing local government, on ensuring that we pay attention to issues of service delivery, of water, as well as energy security. In 2024, we set ourselves the task of resolving the energy crisis and ending load shedding, as well as improving basic services and also improving infrastructure. The people of South Africa, in their homes and in their businesses and places of employment and recreation and public spaces and educational institutions, have now experienced almost 300 days without load shedding. Siyabulela, sibulele i-ANC ukuthi i-load shedding sekuphele almost a year now singenayo i-load shedding. Siyabulela that the ANC directed us in government to focus on ending load shedding. This has improved both the economy and the quality of lives. We commend government as well as the management of ESCOM that they have taken these efforts to address the energy crisis. Building on these advances, we call upon government to ensure that the achievement of lasting and sustainable energy security is long-term and is ensured. We also call on government to address the problem of energy reduction and some power outages that still affect a number of communities and townships. Now, another key problem that we have to attend to is the problem of water. The water crisis in our country is a major crisis. The National Executive Committee of the ANC has resolved that we must now focus on water at a national level and ensure that we embark on various initiatives, because water is life, because water is what keeps all of us alive, and sanitation is dignity. Minister of Water and Sanitation, she describes it very well. Comrade Phemima Jordina, she is not a minister of water and sanitation. She says, as she describes herself, she says, I've been appointed to be the minister of life and dignity. And we support her in that, because yes, water is dignity. Accordingly, we have decided to elevate the issue of water as the #1 issue that we need to focus on, having learned from what we did with electricity. And therefore, the African National Congress calls upon government to urgently implement a number of measures that have to do with strengthening our water boards, and they must immediately ensure that the security of water. We must address aging municipal water infrastructure. We must also address the issue of financing for water infrastructure. And we must make sure that law enforcement agencies pay attention and deal with the sabotage and the theft that continues to hamper the good functioning of water, and the corruption that is perpetrated by some who are involved in water tankering. There's now a new mafia. There's the water mafia who have now come to the fore. But we must also deal with illegal water connections. And we must also deal with formalization of our informal settlements so that they are able to get proper water services. And in the face of the high living costs, we need to increase the issue of attending to the indigent households, and they must be put on the registers so that they are able to benefit from the assistance and support that government has to give. And in cooperation with the South African Weather Service, all spheres of government must strengthen early warning systems, particularly for extreme weather conditions, to improve access to disaster relief and to fund climate resilience in human settlements and infrastructure. The ANC reaffirms the important role that is played by our traditional leaders, particularly in development in our communities. We will continue to work with our traditional leaders in community development and to resolve issues of service delivery. Our third priority is to speed up inclusive economic growth and to create jobs. This is vital to resolving the structural challenges of unemployment and poverty and inequality in our country, especially for women and young people and people living in rural areas and in our townships. The fundamental transformation of South Africa's economy is therefore central to the advance of our national democratic revolution. The public employment programs play a vital and important role in mitigating against the unacceptably high levels of unemployment. However, these programs do not replace the need for long-term jobs through growth and investment by both the public and the private sector. We will therefore also pay attention to the issue of the public employment challenges that are being faced throughout the country. We want to increase the people who participate in our public employment programs. Ukuthi EPWP iqhube iye phambili ingabuyeli emuva, and will therefore make sure that we pay attention to some of those challenges. The manufacturing sector in our economy is the most reliable, sustained employment creator with the highest jobs multiplier. Therefore, we want to continue revitalizing our industrial capacity as a country. We must build on infrastructure as well as an export-led economy focused on manufacturing and to produce competitive goods and to ensure that we continue to attract investments into our country. We commend progress that is being made in improving energy security and enhancing the efficiency of our ports and our rail network, because they play an important role. These are some of the reforms where we are beginning to see real progress. We've made progress with electricity. We now continuously making progress with our rail network, with our ports, because they play an important role for the export of our manufactured goods. Our rail also plays an important role as we improve the passenger rail network to transport our people to work. The National Executive Committee has decided that we must strengthen our resolve in ensuring that the reforms that are now underway do speed up. And we urge government to accelerate the role and the leverage of our critical minerals endowment, working with other countries also in Southern Africa, so that, as suggested and proposed very strongly by our ANC Youth League, we must now lessen what we do of exporting our minerals in raw form. We must now export finished products by embarking on beneficiation. That is one area that we must focus our attention on. We must also focus on emerging technologies such as satellite for communication, virtual reality, as well as artificial intelligence that have the potential to deliver significant benefits across several sectors such as education, healthcare, agriculture, manufacturing, defense, and security. We therefore call on government to continue addressing youth unemployment through various strategic interventions that focus on education reform, skills development initiatives, access to the labor market, information technology, as well as entrepreneurship, and the support that needs to be given, yes, to various businesses that are small and medium enterprises. The collaboration between government and the private sector and labor and civil society to create an enabling environment to create jobs for all people in our country. Yes, as we focus on youth unemployment, we must say here categorically, we will also focus on creating jobs for those who are above 35. Ogote, we must not leave them behind. Abanye bayatuga. Ogote, as we focus on youth employment, we will leave those who are 35 years and above. Asizo bashia emva. We will also focus on those who are above 35 so that they can also get jobs. Now, focusing on entrepreneurship and small business should also be our area of great activity and initiative. The whole process of embarking on all these initiatives is to improve the industrial capacity of our country as we modernize our industrial policy, as we ensure that we also increase the financing of various small and medium enterprises so that they can continue to grow. On high growth industries, there should be a focus on agriculture, on mining, on tourism, and the emerging green economy. Whilst here in the Western Cape, having gone to Robben Island to celebrate the formation of the ANC on the 8th, we also realized that our tourism is beginning to really grow. When we went to Robben Island, we heard wonderful news that Robben Island, as a tourism center, much as it is a center of memory, it is beginning to increase its visitors. They now have up to 1,000 visitors a day and are growing to 300,000 and more visitors a year. We want to see more tourism taking place in our townships, in our various areas, and we must be willing to welcome visitors who come. Our district and local municipalities, we want to see them contributing to the transformation of our economies. Municipalities, local government are the centers of economic growth, and that is where we want to see our municipalities promoting more and more growth. We want to promote domestic businesses so that they become more and more competitive, particularly the retail sector. Local job opportunities must be protected by regulating labor migration and enforcing the issue of quotas on domestic labor in specific industries. Universal connectivity and digital technologies must also be harnessed as critical enablers of economic development, and they must also ensure that digital infrastructure is widely available as well as being affordable. Our education system, the NEC has decided, must be geared towards development of a digitally enabled society, including through collaboration with academia as well as research institutions. Our fourth priority for 2025 is to strengthen the fight against crime and corruption and to build safe communities. Last year, we said that crime undermines the gains of freedom and shared prosperity and ultimately our constitutional democracy and the objectives of the NDR. By November 2024, actions of our law enforcement agencies working together with our communities, community policing forums, and the private security services were making a really good impact. Crime statistics indicate that there is a significant decline in most reported crimes. The recruitment of 10,000 police officers has contributed to improving community safety. These interventions have been bolstered by initiatives such as Operation Chanela, which continues to sweep crimes out of communities across the nation. Operation Valumkoti, which is dealing decisively with illegal mining. We welcome the establishment of the Border Management Authority and commend the efforts as well as interventions to ensure our territorial integrity. Notwithstanding this progress, women across our country, including those in rural farming communities, continue to live in daily terror of gender-based violence and femicide. This includes unacceptable proliferation of statutory rape resulting in the impregnation of young girls. This perpetuates a cycle of poverty as well as deprivation. This is a crisis that no nation can afford to ignore. Just yesterday, we heard the very sad news about the abduction and the rape of 2 nurses who were on duty at Gatshweni Clinic in Limpopo, who were abducted and raped over a 4-hour period. We must work together to end such horrific crimes, and we condemn the activities of those men who go and attack our nurses and the women who are serving the nation. It is in the end like raping the nation when you go out of your way at night for people who are doing valuable work during the night duty process and abduct them and take them to the veld and rape them. We urge the police to move swiftly and with great speed in Limpopo and apprehend and arrest those men who have committed these terrible crimes. Organized crime and gangsterism and drug dealing and extortion impact very negatively on society. They undermine personal security as well as the economic, community and infrastructure development in our country. The ANC calls on government urgently to implement a number of measures, including to ensure that we build a united front of community leaders and society, drawing participants from business, from various organizations, youth organizations, sports organizations, to combine their efforts against crime. We also call on the government to finalize the establishment of the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, and to ensure that it is adequately funded. We call on government to unite all sectors of society to inculcate social values and practices that support the eradication of gender-based violence in all spheres of life. This should include the important role of traditional and religious leaders. It should also include actively mobilizing men in general to be positive and rather to play a positive role in society and to be role models to the children of our country, and men themselves to be in the forefront of ensuring that we end gender-based violence. We call on government to act decisively against the employment of illegal and undocumented migrants in agriculture, in the domestic area, in the catering and other sectors of the economy. It must be the employers who take care that these do not happen. We must also prevent the deaths from foodborne illnesses, especially of children, through the registration of spaza shops, and make sure that we have regular inspection of food vending outlets, and also ensure that there is enforcement of health regulations, and those that do not adhere to these health regulations and registration requirements must be closed with immediate effect as well. Our fifth priority is to build a South Africa that belongs to all South Africans through holding a national dialogue. The major purpose of the national dialogue is to create an inclusive and transparent process to shape a new socio-economic political consensus in our country. Progressive forces in our country have a proud tradition of engagement, of collaboration, of discussion and participation. And we want to see that happening. It has always happened in the various processes that have ensued in our country from decades and decades ago. We want to see the establishment of ensuring that this dialogue proceeds as we have envisaged, with full participation of all various sectors of our society. The establishment of a government of national unity has also advanced and enriched the legacy that we have had in the past, which taught us the importance of building bridges across narrow divides and race, class, religion, and party politics, so we can create a country that truly belongs to all. So the national dialogue therefore offers us a comprehensive platform for all citizens to be part of the political process and reclaim our political agency. The national dialogue will create a safe space so that all South Africans can have discussions and solutions to the difficult and different issues that continue to face our country, particularly the economic exclusion of many in our country, the social inequality, as well as the societal marginalization of many in society. Only by doing this can we ensure that the national dialogue rekindles and restores public participation as the expression of people's power. The ANC calls on government to make sure that it makes resources available and support the process of the national dialogue. We also call on the Alliance, the mass democratic movement, and progressive civil society to support the process so that it can build a new social consensus on the future direction of our country. Our sixth priority, comrades, is to build a better Africa and a better world. Globally, the world is in the throes of several crises. Crises that are characterized by instability, by war, by conflict, by fragility, by injustice, by insecurity, and the exclusion of the voices of the majority people who live in this world. The ANC remains committed to the principles of international solidarity, human rights, and anti-colonialism, as well as anti-imperialism and Pan-Africanism. We are committed to strengthening the capabilities of the Southern African Development Community, SADC, particularly on the 45th anniversary of the formation of SADC. We will continue to champion Africa's development through the African Union. We will continue to advocate for the implementation of Agenda 2063 for the development of our continent. Multilateralism and the respect for international law and its institutions are under attack by powerful countries and their leaders. We are deeply concerned about the increase in regional continental and global conflicts, particularly on our own continent, in the Middle East, and in Europe. The political and economic consequences of these regional conflicts continue to have a negative impact, particularly on developing economy countries. In this context, it is important that the countries of the Global South strengthen international solidarity to ensure that the world moves away from the current unipolar disorder and domination by the global North towards a more multipolar, multicultural, multi-civilizational, as well as humane and fair and inclusive world order. South Africa's presidency of the G20 provides huge opportunities to advance the interests of the African continent and the Global South. The ANC will work hard to make sure that South Africa's presidency of the G20 is an important pillar of our efforts to advance sustainable development and inclusive economic growth, justice, peace, stability, multilateralism, and human rights. We argue that the transformation of the international financial institutions, such as the development banks, must be a priority. The ANC stands steadfast in solidarity and affirms the inalienable right of the people of Western Sahara and Palestine to self-determination and independence. We continue to call on the end of the hostilities in the Middle East and also to stop the conflict that is happening, particularly the slaughter of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. And our support for the people of Palestine continues unabated, particularly as we continue with the case in the International Court of Justice to support the struggle of the Palestinians. We continue to call for the end of the decades-long U.S. economic blockade against Cuba and to have Cuba removed from the list of terrorist states. We continue to condemn all acts of conflicts that are going on in various parts of the world. The ANC calls on the 7th administration to remain seized, yes, with the peace-building processes that South Africa is involved in our continent to ensure that peace is indeed restored in various parts of the world. We must remain with our resolve in advancing the African agenda to ensure that our continent is prosperous. In this regard, we remain concerned by the continuing conflicts on our continent. Without the peaceful resolution of conflicts, we will not be able to ensure the full implementation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And without the implementation of the AfCFTA, we will not be able to attain the economic integration that is in line with the ideals of Pan-Africanism. Thus, our government must continue to prioritize the resolution of conflicts on our continent. The ANC notes the consolidation of democracy in Southern Africa. 7 countries in SADC, the Comoros, Botswana, Madagascar, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa held elections in 2024. The ANC will host the much anticipated Liberation Movement Summit this year. This will further strengthen the people's liberation gains towards lasting regional stability and sustainable economic development. We are deeply concerned about the ongoing conflicts in the Sudan and the Eastern DRC, as well as the post-election violence in Mozambique. We call on the OAU and SADC to take urgent steps in working towards the resolution of all these conflicts. We must also continue to work to advance the industrialization in inclusive intra-Africa trade. We need to advance food, water, energy, and critical mineral security, as well as infrastructure development on our continent. This is important to ending the historical, extractive, and fragmentation of our country's resources. On this occasion of the 113th anniversary of our movement, we are proud to announce that the NEC has awarded key patriots in our country, 3 patriots and veterans of our movement, the highest honor of Isitwalandwe Siaparankwe. As you know, it is on this occasion that the National Executive Committee awards these very high honor on those who have served the movement with dignity. And these 3 outstanding comrades are comrades Klo Theophilus Cholo, Dr. Mana Mildred Ramakaba Lesiaya, and Comrade Nkosinati Benson Fitla. We salute them for their extraordinary contributions to the struggle of the people of South Africa for freedom and equality. On this day, we honor them and we uphold them, and they join the group of those people who have been honored with Isitwalandwe Siaparankwe, those who have been recognized by our movement as having made outstanding contributions, and those will be awarded their Isitwalandwe as we move towards conclusion today. On this day, we also congratulate the winners of the 2024 ANC Branch Awards. The baton of struggle in the South African people's quest for freedom and justice has been passed from generation to generation. In both advances and setbacks, in both defeat and triumphs, these generations have remained true to the solemn pledge by the delegates of the Congress of the People that adopted the Freedom Charter, who were able to say, these freedoms we will fight for side by side throughout our lives until we have won our liberty. Today, every member, upon being accepted as a member of the African National Congress, is required to make a solemn declaration which includes a commitment that they will serve the African National Congress with dignity, with integrity, and commitment. They are meant to make this solemn oath I will work towards making the ANC an even more effective instrument of liberation in the hands of the people. The transformation of our country into a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous nation inspired by the Freedom Charter and mandated by the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa will indeed succeed. Together, as we work as ANC members, as ANC leaders at all levels, at branch level, at regional level, at zonal level, at provincial level, and national level, we will indeed improve the ability of our economy to create wealth and employment for all. It is in working together too, as an alliance, united in action, that we will be able to attain the objectives that are set out in the National Democratic Revolution. Together, we will improve the quality of services and the integrity, responsiveness, capacity, and accountability of the government in all spheres. The ANC will renew and rebuild itself to unite all South Africans and to provide clear, decisive, and ethical leadership in the achievement of these objectives. It is through all this that the National Executive Committee has set out as the message for 2025 that the National Executive Committee now therefore declares that 2025 will be a year of renewal to make the ANC a more effective instrument of the people to achieve the vision of the Freedom Charter. The people shall govern, the people shall share in the wealth of the country. That is the message of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress. And with that, we want to thank the people who have gathered here, particularly those in the Western Cape. But we also want to thank those who have traveled from as far as Limpopo, who are here, from as far as Mpumalanga, who are here, from as far as Northwest, who are here, from as far as Gauteng, who are here, from as far as the Northern Cape, from as far as KwaZulu-Natal, and from as far as the Eastern Cape, as far as the Free State. All our provinces are here, and we therefore thank the Western Cape Province leadership and membership for being here in numbers and for being able to have organized such a successful January 8th commemoration. We thank you all for being here. Forward with the renewal of the ANC, forward. Forward with the African National, forward. Forward with the Alliance, forward. Amandla. Amandla. Kyalebucha. Nyabonga. Onse Baya Danki. We say thank you to all of you for making this January 8th such a successful occasion. Thank you very much.
masenze ngolu hlobo. Comrade Mbalula, sondela kum, Iman.
All right, there you have it. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has just delivered his January 8 statement 2025. Ramaphosa has declared 2025 a year of renewal for the ANC. Well, a very good afternoon to you. If you've just joined us, you've been watching the SABC special broadcast of the ANC's January 8 statement as the party marks its 113th anniversary. Unati Bagyashe coming to you live from Madiba Park Stadium in Khayelitsha. While the ANC president has been addressing thousands of ANC supporters here, the first part of his statement before speaking about the key priorities